Back in December 2025, a crypto trader did almost everything right. When he wanted to withdraw his funds from Binance, he sent a small test transaction first to confirm the destination. It landed perfectly, so he sent the rest, $49,999,950 in USDT, straight into the hands of an attacker in just a single click. Just 2 months earlier, 1.6 million traders were wiped out in a matter of hours on 1 October afternoon. And 11.56 million tokens, representing 86% of every failed token in crypto history, died in just the last 12 months. The people who get hurt in 2026 aren't the careless ones, but the average investors who don't realize that the game has changed. The exits are narrower, the scams are smarter, and the taxman now sees every single transaction you make. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 7 mistakes that will wreck your portfolio this year, show you the mechanics behind each one, and lay out precisely how the smart money sidesteps every single trap. My name is Guy, and you're watching The Coin Bureau. Now, crypto criminals had an absolutely golden year in 2025. Chainalysis clocked $3.4 billion stolen outright, while the FBI logged $11.36 billion in crypto fraud losses across the US alone. And the fear and greed backdrop made it worse because frightened people make rush decisions. So let's start with one of the most common mistakes in crypto, but also one of the easiest to avoid. This is the copy-paste trap, otherwise known as address poisoning. It works like this. An attacker watches the blockchain for your transactions, then generates a lookalike wallet address that shares the same first few and last few characters as the one you actually use. They then send you a tiny dust transaction from that fake address, so it sits there in your history looking innocent and inconsequential. Then they wait for you to copy the wrong one when you're sending crypto to what you think is a legit address. And this method is extremely popular with the villains out there. Since January 2025, security firm Blockade has flagged over 160,000 of these poisoning transactions every single day. Research cross-referenced by Coinmetrics found that 67% of new Ethereum addresses got dusted on their very first stablecoin interaction. That's 2/3 of newcomers targeted before they'd even done anything. Welcome to crypto. And remember our $50 million trader from earlier? Well, he even sent that test transaction first, a textbook security procedure. But an automated bot saw it, spun up a vanity address matching his destination, and poisoned his history within minutes. He came back, copied the address from his own transaction log, and sent the lot. The attacker then swapped it into DAI to dodge Tether's freeze, converted it to roughly 16,690 ETH, and washed it through Tornado Cash. Gone. And what's more, Ethereum's Fusaka upgrade in December dramatically cut Layer 2 transaction fees, with initial reductions estimated at 40 to 60%, with the potential to reach up to 95% as blob throughput scales through 2026. Now, that's great for you and me, but it's also an absolute gift to the scammers because cheaper Layer 2 transactions turned poisoning from a trickle into a torrent. Attempts jumped 5.5x, from 628,000 in November to 3.4 million in January 2026. So, when you're sending crypto, copy the address you're sending to from the destination itself, not from your transaction history. And just checking the first and last 4 characters is not enough. You need to verify the entire address or use a hardware wallet that displays it in full. Which brings us neatly to the keys protecting those funds in the first place. Mistake number 2 is what I call self-custody theatre. You've all heard not your keys, not your coins, and it's as true today as it's ever been. But owning your keys is step 1, not the finish line. Because self-custody only protects you if your operational security isn't a shit show, and for most people, I'm afraid it absolutely is. TRM Labs found that in the first half of 2025, over 80% of all stolen crypto value came from infrastructure attacks, which is the industry's polite term for private key and seed phrase theft. Apply that to the $3.4 billion stolen, and you're looking at well over $2.7 billion lost not to clever code, but to mismanaged keys. So, how does it happen? Well, one common way is tampered hardware wallets bought on grey market sites, arriving with a recovery card that the attacker has already filled in. Then there are fake wallet apps on the official app stores that harvest your seed phrase the second you type it in. And then there's the classic, people screenshotting their seed phrase straight into iCloud or Google Photos, creating a permanent backdoor that gets kicked in the moment their cloud account is phished. Signature phishing alone jumped 207% in January 2026 versus the month before. So, owning your keys means nothing if an attacker already knows your seed phrase. Buy your hardware device directly from the manufacturer, generate the seed yourself, and never, ever let that seed phrase get onto an electronic device of any kind. Now, mistake number 3 is where the losses can get truly biblical, and that's in the good old leverage casino. On the 10th of October 2025, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, threatening a 100% tariff on Chinese imports, and markets, to use a technical term, shat the bed. What followed was the single largest liquidation event in the history of crypto. $19 billion in leveraged positions were wiped out, and to put that into perspective, the entire FTX collapse triggered around $1.6 billion in liquidation. So this was roughly 12 times bigger. At the peak of the cascade, liquidations tore through positions at extraordinary speed, with nearly $10 billion worth forced closed in a single 40-minute window. And for the uninitiated, here's why leverage is so lethal. When the price drops, leverage longs hit their margin threshold, and the exchange force sells their position. That selling pushes the price still lower, which tips the next wave of longs over the edge, which forces more selling, the whole cascade feeding on itself. When the shit hits the fan in this way, retail leverage longs become the exit liquidity for the broader market. And back in October, 87% of the liquidated positions were indeed longs. The crowd was almost entirely on one side, and any whales who were short collected the lot. So, don't tell yourself just a little leverage keeps you safe. Your position size won't save you from getting wiped out by the underlying market structure. In a fast enough move, even 2x gets liquidated before your margin call can be answered. So the only winning move in this particular casino is not to play with size you can't afford to lose. Which leads us neatly into the next bet that's stacked against you before you even place it. And mistake number 4 is playing the meme coin lottery. Now, remember that figure from earlier in the video? 11,564,909 tokens failed in 2025. That's nearly 86% of every token failure in the entire 2021 to 2025 dataset, crammed into one single year. And the meme coin sector that fueled it has been gutted. Market cap peaked at $150.6 billion in December 2024, but by the end of 2025, it had collapsed to somewhere between 35 and 47 billion. That's over $100 billion simply gone. Web traffic to meme coin sites fell 81.6% as the audience left in disgust. So, meme coins may supposedly have made a few bros on crypto Twitter rich, but be under no illusion, they won't do the same for you. Now, mistake number 5 is the boring one, which is why it could cost you more than any hacker. Yes, folks, you need to take very good care not to find yourself sleepwalking into the new tax regime. As of the 2025 tax year, US brokers like Coinbase, Kraken, and PayPal must file Form 1099-DA. This reports your transactions directly to the IRS with no minimum threshold whatsoever. So the IRS isn't guessing anymore. They have a direct data feed, and if your figures don't match theirs, you're flagged automatically. No human review, no benefit of the doubt. But it gets worse. Under Revenue Procedure 2024-28, the Universal Wallet method died on the 1st of January 2025. Now, for those unfamiliar, that's the old trick of pooling all your crypto across every wallet into one big cost basis bucket. Now, every wallet and every account is its own separate ledger, and the safe harbor window to fix your historical records has already closed. And here's the cruel twist for the DeFi crowd. When Trump repealed the DeFi broker rule in April 2025, it felt like a win, but the IRS treats DeFi silence as a red flag and not a free pass. There is no Uniswap data feed, so they'll just analyze your on-chain footprint instead, and the burden of proof falls entirely on you. Get it wrong through sloppiness, and that's a 20% accuracy penalty. Get it wrong in a way they can call fraud, and the civil fraud penalty runs up to 75% of the underpayment on top of the tax you already owed. Casual record keeping just became a legal landmine, so open up those spreadsheets and prepare to up your game. Now, mistake number 6 is the threat that barely existed at this scale 2 years ago, the explosion of AI scams. In its 2025 report, the FBI tracked AI-related fraud as a standalone category for the very first time. The total, $893 million across more than 22,000 complaints. And the FBI says that's a significant undercount because most victims never realize AI was even used. And here's why it's exploding. Chainalysis found AI-enabled scams average $3.2 million per operation versus around $719,000 for the old-fashioned kind. That's 4.5 times more profitable. And the economics are overwhelmingly in the scammer's favor. So we end up with deepfake videos of figures like Elon Musk and Vitalik Buterin promoting fake giveaways. There are fake Web3 job interviews, slick LinkedIn recruiters who, near the end of a polished video call, ask you to download an HR portal that's actually a wallet drainer. Developers are the prime target here because their machines are often stuffed with private keys. And you also get voice cloning, where just 3 seconds of audio produces an 85% accurate clone of someone you trust. So, the old advice, spot the bad grammar, is obsolete. As one FBI official told the Wall Street Journal, AI communications now look very official and very legitimate to even the most trained individuals. That warning applies directly to everyone, not just to less tech-savvy users. Now, keeping up with all of this can be a full-time job, and most of you probably don't have 16 hours a day to sit glued to a screen. So, here's what we built. Right here on YouTube, you can now access the new Coin Bureau Club Lite plan. For just $10 a month, you'll get daily market updates across both crypto and TradFi, our teams read on the best opportunities, and curated updates with only the bits that actually matter. Just tap the join button below this video to get started. Right, let's get back to it, because the 7th mistake is the darkest of the lot: recovery scams. These are really about as low as it gets in crypto, which is really saying something. In 2025, victims lost approximately $1.4 billion to fund recovery services across more than 10,000 complaints. These scumbags specifically target people who've already been scammed once. Because you see, once you've been hit, your details, name, email, amount lost, etc., get sold on dark web markets as a commodity. Then scammers monitor public forums for anyone posting about a loss, and within minutes, the DMs start arriving. I'm a forensic blockchain analyst. I work with the FBI. Our firm can trace and recover your funds. They charge an upfront retainer or a release fee paid in crypto, of course, and then they vanish, leaving you poorer twice over, as if things weren't already bad enough. So, burn these rules into your memory. Legitimate law enforcement never asks for upfront fees to recover funds. no one can reverse a blockchain transaction. That's the lie the entire recovery industry is basically built on. And if they found you, it's already a scam. In fact, a huge share of the crypto help content circulating online right now is itself recovery scam bait. The coordinated comments promising someone got $80,000 back in 48 hours or whatever. The only legitimate reporting channel is the FBI's own site at ic3.gov. Now, sad to say, scammers are only getting smarter. The tools available to them are better, and their methods have been honed through years of use. The only thing that hasn't upgraded enough is the average investor's awareness. The address you trusted, the keys you thought were safe, the leverage that felt small, the token that looked early, the taxes nobody warned you about, the scam too clever to spot, and the helping hand that turns out to be another punch in the stomach. But there is some good news. Every one of these mistakes is avoidable with the right habits. The market is specifically rigged against people who don't understand its mechanics. So, wise up, stay skeptical, don't make snap decisions under pressure, keep your wits about you, dial back the leverage, and there's no reason why you should end up a victim. Okay, let me know down in the comments which of these 7 you've already seen happen to someone you know, because I want to know how widespread this really is. And if you want to lock down the foundation properly, then definitely check out our deep dive on self-custody right over here. Okay, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again very soon. This is Guy, signing off.